Going out of town when you have pets is never an easy thing to do, especially when you're someone like me who has over 20 plus pets. This seems like something that seems downright impossible. However, I've figured out a way to make it work, and I'm going to show you guys the ways that I prepare for leaving town and getting my pet sitter set up for success. And if you have one pet or 100 pets, these will be helpful tools for you as well. I'm Stephanie, this is Lili, and you're watching New Light Pets. If you're planning on going on vacation or leaving town and leaving your pets at home, then there's definitely some planning and thought that needs to go into it. And even pets that may not seem as needy as a dog or a cat, like a reptile, still needs to likely have someone come in and take care of it and check on it depending on how long you are going away for. The number one thing that you're going to have to start out with is obviously planning and budgeting. Since I have so many pets, leaving town for me is extremely expensive, and I have a lot of prep work to do for my pet sitter beforehand. So I start off, of course, by saving up my money to pay my pet sitter in the first place, and then also figuring out the best plan of action so that everything is just seamless and ready to go for my pet sitter to make it as easy on them as possible. If you don't already have a pet sitter and you're looking for one, I would recommend using options like Rover or different pet sitting apps that do background check people before they're even on the app, or using maybe recommendations from a family member or a friend or a neighbor. Obviously, your pets are going to be your babies, and it's so important to leave them with somebody that you wholeheartedly trust. For me, I am getting ready to go to Costa Rica, and I'm actually leaving tomorrow, which I can't wait for. However, I have been planning how I'm going to leave my animals for months now. Thankfully for me, I do have a couple of pet sitters that I use, and then I also have family members that help out sometimes as well. So I've got some people on hand. But one great recommendation that I'd have for you if you are bringing on a new pet sitter is maybe to just do a little trial run. So maybe just do a one-nighter somewhere and just test it out with the new pet sitter. You could just leave town for one night, go stay at a hotel or a friend's house or a family member's house, and just see how it goes with that pet sitter before you leave for a longer time period. I'd also recommend maybe not going too far in case something were to happen, and doing this well in advance before you actually leave for your longer trip, just so that in case it doesn't work out, you're able to try out somebody new. Once I have my pet sitter in place, I like to get everything fully prepared and easy, ready to go. So the first thing that I start out with is I do all of my deep cleaning of my enclosures, make sure they are spotless, and my animal will need very minimal maintenance. I also invite my pet sitter over, even if I've used them before, I invite them over a couple days before I leave just to walk through that routine with them, especially since I have so many animals. It can get a little bit confusing for somebody who does not do this day to day. Therefore, I just walk through the daily routine and feeding and show them where supplies are, etc. I also prepare plenty of notes, and for me, it's literally like a manual, a huge document, just with all of the information that they would possibly need to know of how to take care of that animal, emergency contact numbers, vet numbers, etc., so that in case they can't get a hold of me or they have questions, everything should be right there for them in the notes. It may seem a little anal or over the top, but honestly, I'd rather have my pet sitter have all the tools and be completely set up, ready to go before I leave, just so that there aren't any issues while I'm gone. I want to be able to go on my trip stress-free and not have to worry. When it comes to my reptiles, I also like to make sure that I feed my snakes before I leave, so I don't have to leave that with the pet sitter. I also like to spray down and saturate the substrates of my tropical species to make sure their humidity is perfect, and my pet sitter will just need to come in and just do those sprays. I also clean out all of their water dishes and make sure there is fresh water for them as well. I water any plants in my bioactive enclosures. And I also like to make sure I have a back stock of bulbs in case any heat lamps happen to go out while I'm gone as well. One of my biggest downfalls is that I don't have my lights on a timer. And for somebody that has so many reptiles, I know this is ridiculous, and it's something I really plan to take care of very soon. But for the time being, I am setting my pet sitter up. Lila, your nail is stuck in my sweatshirt. There you go. Sorry, girl. I like to set my pet sitter up by marking all of my light switches. So basically, I'll just take one of those small little post-it tabs and stick them on all my light switches that need to be turned on and off in the mornings and at night, so my pet sitter isn't running around trying to figure out where the lights are. But once again, I would highly recommend getting your lights set up on a timer, and I really, really need to take that advice myself because it's kind of ridiculous. The other thing I like to do is I like to label all of my enclosures with who is in there, what species, what their temperature should be at, whether or not they need to spray or not spray the enclosures. For my insect-eating creatures, I will also stock up on feeders before leaving as well. I generally do my insect feeding right before I leave so that a pet sitter doesn't really have to handle that too much. Like, for example, with my bearded dragon, Lila will get her insects tonight, and then my pet sitter will just have to feed a salad in a couple of days, and then one insect feeding. If not while I'm gone, it might be the day that I get back. Of course, this just varies how long I'm leaving town for. As for our salads and my herbivores, like my tortoise, I like to prepare all of their salads before I go. I like to use those little tiny deli cups and just get their salads ready to go in there, top them with the supplements beforehand, so my pet sitter does not have to worry about any of those things. They'll just have to put the salad in a dish and put it in the enclosure, give it to my animal, and that is that. When it comes to animals like my dogs and cats, I like to have all their food out as well, and their kibble, since it's in plastic bins, I label it dog food, cat food, and then have their wet food out as well. As many of you know, I do have a sick mini pig right now. Luckily, I am leaving him with a trustworthy person who will be pet sitting, and I'm just preparing all of his medications in his meals ready to go as well, so that the pet sitter does not have to think about those things either. It is just already done. And the very final thing I like to do before I leave is just to make sure everything is clean and tidy so that my pet sitter doesn't have to look around for things or deal with chaos and clutter. I like to make sure the litter boxes for my cats are scooped and clean and fresh and ready as well. The last thing that I'd like to add is while you're gone on your trip, trying to have fun, it can be difficult and you might be worried about your animal. So check in with your pet sitter, ask them to send photos just so you can make sure everyone's doing well. And even though all of these steps may seem like they're over the top and a lot of work, I can assure you that if you've done all these things beforehand, you'll be able to have a much more relaxed time away from home. All right, guys, well, that's all that I have for you today. Hopefully you got some good tips from this video. If you have any tips of your own that you'd like to share, please leave those in the comments. I'd love to hear how you guys leave town with animals as well. And until the next video, you guys take care.